Welcome, ladies. I hope you're doing well, and thank you very much to everybody that is joining us. I'll leave it over now to Karima to run the conversation with Teko. Welcome, ladies, and have fun.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Bonsoir tout le monde. Donc, je m'appelle Karima Rhanem. Je suis directrice générale d'Africa My Home. C'est une société de consulting qui a été créée notamment pour renforcer les projets de développement en Afrique et surtout renforcer l'autonomisation socio-économique et politique des jeunes et des femmes en utilisant les technologies de l'information au service du développement. Donc, je suis très ravie de participer avec vous aujourd'hui dans cette conversation qui est d'extrême importance, surtout pour parler un petit peu des expériences des femmes chefs d'entreprise, surtout dans la sphère digitale. Donc, je suis très ravie de pouvoir partager avec vous quelques petites expériences que j'ai même vécues, surtout sur le plan du continent africain, avec la crise Covid-19, avec la transformation digitale qui est beaucoup plus accélérée. Et je vais en parler par la suite. Donc, peut-être Madame Mrs. Chego Luda, if you want to run the conversation in English, we can switch to English.
Please, that'd be good.
Okay. All right. Okay. I was just presenting myself. So I'm CEO of Africa My Home. It's a consulting company that is focusing on development projects in Africa, more specifically to empower women, more in particular socioeconomic and political empowerment of women using technology to provide solutions for development problems in Africa. I'm really happy to share with you this conversation, more specifically sharing a bit of experiences of women entrepreneurs, whether they work in the soft power or hard power of digitalization. But we would like to share these experiences. What are the challenges that we are facing, and what are probably the solutions and alternative that we are proposing to advocate more for the inclusion of women in digital policies per se. Maybe I will start with you, and then I can share my experience in this regard.
Okay, maybe let me start by introducing myself as well. My name is Teko Luda. I am CEO and founder of RoboSteam Train, which is a robotics and coding academy for primary school children. I'm also the founder of a nonprofit organization called the Chala Foundation, which essentially does the same thing for that's coding and robotics, but for your less privileged children. So your children in the rural areas and townships, as it were. And I definitely do agree that the landscape could be a little more welcoming to women, whether, in fact, in the world of tech as a whole, the landscape could be a lot more welcoming and a little bit more open and accommodating of women in general. I think I found that in my experience, it is very much still an all boys club, and to come in and try and find your space, you either have to become one of the boys or you have to try and push your way in and be seen as dramatic or extra feminine or something. So it would definitely be to the advantage of many women like myself and you to come into any space, especially in your tech and digitization space, to be able to contribute and have conversations and sit down around a table and implement policy in a way that makes sense to both men and women.
Probably what you're doing is very interesting, and I have a really question that has been the hot discussion today, more specifically that there is a saying that robotics will replace human beings. So do you think that we are prepared enough to actually accompany the workforce to mitigate the impact of this digital transformation and also the rise of artificial intelligence. What are we going to do to change our policies, our educational system, so that we can have, more specifically, the younger generation more employable in the future in the face of these robotics, etc.?
I firstly, yes, and it's a sad misconception that they will take over. Yes, they'll play a large role, and they'll take the jobs and the work that some people might find mundane and a little bit boring, the everyday mundane tasks. But we humans will still be very useful and needed in the economy. But I don't think that we are ready, especially in Africa, where the largest percentage of people is your less privileged people, people who don't necessarily have resources and access to information and access to the kind of education that it takes, which is partly why we do what we do, because we actually want to try and start at a younger age where the minds of children are still soft, where they're still willing to learn, because trying to get somebody who's already been working for 30 years, has only got 10 years left, for argument's sake, in their working world, to say, listen, you now have to upskill, go and do a whole new course so that you can be relevant, is difficult. And that's what's holding us back. That's what's making it take long for us to catch up with, some of the other countries where they're on the ball and they're catching it fast, because some are willing to carry on with it, and also resources are not as much a problem as they are for us at home.
Actually, I have a question, but at the same time, I'm going to share a bit of experience, more specifically
Please.
that you mentioned capacity building, which is really key to start at a younger age. During coronavirus, we've been working with many partners in this regard, because at a certain time, people found themselves all of a sudden that they have to deal with all this fancy technology that they are not used to. At the same time, they face what we call technology fatigue. So they have to work hard in order to build their capacity to understand technology ecosystem and digitalization, which is a bit hard because they have to do it on a quick basis, because
Yes.
actually with coronavirus, everything was digitalized. So therefore, there were three important things that we had to take into consideration. First of all, is connectivity. We're still facing a territorial gap. Actually, there are some regions who are better well connected. There are some who still have problems of technological infrastructure and connectivity, which doesn't enable them actually to benefit from all these important services of digitalization. The second point is mentorship, and this is what you're doing. I mean, the importance of mentorship is important today, because we have to work hard in order to advocate for fighting what we called digital illiteracy.
Yes.
And the last point that I wanted to mention here is innovation. Actually, what you're doing is important, because you're building a new generation of kids and young people who would grow with this spirit of innovation, because this is what is actually demanded today. Because with coronavirus, we found out that younger generation in Africa becoming very innovative in creating mobile applications and different other platforms that are built on artificial intelligence, in order to solve many development problems, at the same time to manage the pandemic. So
Yes.
what are you doing in terms of that? I mean, probably from the experience of coronavirus till now, what are maybe the challenges, but also the lessons learned in the work that you have been doing with the kids as well?
All right. So I'll touch on all three of those points, starting with, let's start at the back with the innovation part. No, let's start in the middle, in fact, because that will then lead to the others. So when we're talking about the mentorship part, holding the hands of those who are interested in learning and walking with them step by step, us as a company, we teach. Obviously, we are an academy, but we teach them, the children. But we are also teaching, or rather, having workshops for teachers, because teachers are the ones who are now being expected to teach coding and robotics in school as a curriculum. So it becomes a challenge, because you find that a teacher, has got their education training, but they don't have the technical training. They know how to teach and they can do it really well, but they don't have the technical side of things. And that begins first with mindset change. I think that's one of the challenges that we have found are quite high up, on the spectrum of challenges, is the mindset change, the fear of technology, and the fatigue that you were talking about. As much as we are technical and we don't have a problem spending all our time using tech, but you also get a time when you feel like your eyes just want to close for a few minutes because you've been looking at a screen all day. We've had clients who've said, you know what, we are going to pause classes for now because my child is zoomed out. We have just had enough Zoom or whatever platform for a while. We just need a break.
Yes, yeah.
Exactly, Conferences and the likes are awesome and great because they're able to reach people all over the world. And yet some people feel that, there isn't as much personal touch in between other people because of their technology. So there's two things, two sides of the same coin when it comes to the mentorship, is that we're working with the mindset of the people to say, be receptive to it and find ways and things you can do when you're away from the technology that will allow you to refresh, so that when you come back to it, you're able to be effective. And that then leads to the innovation side of things, because you're able to then show them that your fatigue is a problem. How do we solve that problem? We can still use tech to solve it, even though we're not using a screen, and because we work with children and with teachers, we're able to see, how they are open to using certain digital, platforms in their classrooms. Even in their face-to-face classrooms, they're open to it, but they also find new ways, interesting ways to use the tech. So the creation of new tech definitely comes a long way with somebody holding your hand, and the use of the current tech that we've got in an effective way also comes into play. Now, the last part is the one that really breaks my heart, is infrastructure and being equipped to do it. Like I said, because we work in spaces and places with the nonprofit where the children and teachers don't have access. I can imagine all over Africa, every single one of our countries has got that one part of the country that barely has running water. They are still hoping for plumbing, for indoor plumbing. And we are saying, get onto your Wi-Fi, Google this, manage this, let's use StreamYard. And they're like, Stream what? So we do have a long way to go. And maybe as we chat, especially with Africa, my home, we can go into how we can hold hands as problem solvers to tackle some of these challenges, because I've found that even parents, maybe I meet people somewhere and they're like, I would really like my child to be in one of your classes, but where I live, the connectivity is so bad. We will get onto Zoom and we will, get kicked out every 10 minutes. And that is one major worry, because that stuff costs money, a lot of money. And like you said, with COVID, so much of the world's money went into healthcare and all of those things. Maybe what was planned for infrastructure was now redirected.
Well,
so we need to hold hands and see.
Yeah, actually, I wanted to touch base on that, because we had an experience in COVID, and you talked about e-learning. In COVID-19, with the start with COVID-19, there are many young people who innovated the development of many educational platforms to help both students and teachers continue their education regardless of the other platforms that are available by professional educational or government institutions. Yet, as you said, we found a lot of issues dealing with the e-learning platform. First of all, we noticed that also women are willing actually to invest in these e-learning platform as a solution for the future, because a lot of solutions for education has gone digital. But the problem is that first of all is the pedagogy stayed the same.
Yeah.
So there was not much innovation that goes with the digital mindset. And the second part is the connectivity. I myself been teacher and at the same time did a lot of capacity building. But the problem that we still face in Africa is power cuts, connectivity. So the level of energy and investment that you do in an e-learning platform is a bit difficult, challenging. Yet I have worked and collaborated with some of the younger of the young people who innovated platforms that you can use without connection. And this is a technological solution that would enable you actually to use technology without having to resort to connection, since there's a lot of problems in terms of that. And coming to your issue of technology fatigue, actually we face it in education, we face it in the workspace, and there are many studies now that have been done during COVID-19 to evaluate the impact of technology actually on people, more specifically in the workplace. And they come what we call digital transformation and well-being. So the impact of people's well-being, because there was a media fatigue, and also the impact on also how enterprises are managing their staff, given the fact that many enterprises went completely digital. So they're using remote work, and they had to change their workforce management using what we call management 3.0. But that entails for them, first of all, to innovate more, to do different procedures so that they can manage the workspace, given that we all, for example, when we do work from home, we don't have a private space in Africa.
Yeah.
It's very difficult. So enterprises at the beginning, they found it very, very difficult to implement policies to facilitate their staff remote work. So they had to work differently in order to work also on their regulation, on their procedures. And now we have experiences in many countries in Africa who amended the labor code and also some of the legislation, working with enterprises as well in order to enable a different environment to allow enterprises, more specifically who went completely digital, to change their mindset and to change how they manage their staff. Did it happen to you to face those challenges as you are working digital?
That's actually a very interesting one. So a lot of companies, you're right, had to go digital, but I would like to actually get a little bit deeper into this one, in that, especially since we're talking about women in the tech space, I found that a lot more women struggled with it. And the fact that at the time, especially with the initial parts of COVID-19, schools were closed, so everybody was home. Essentially, everybody was in your office the whole day, and those women who are mothers and have to deal with children, I found that they were struggling more to work during the day. And so they ended up working at night. Now, when you're working in the office, you come in, you start your work, you log out. And if you don't bring work home with you, you're done for the day. But when you're working at home, you're working remotely, there's always a spreadsheet you can deal with after the kids go to bed or after you're done with something. You've had a whole day of having to deal with whatever it is you needed to deal with. Then you've cooked, then you've cleaned, you've prepared everything. And now you must sit down and find the space to concentrate. So I found that a lot of people that I was speaking to, especially women, were more tired and they worked more remotely than they did outside of the remote working, way of doing things. But after a while, I saw a change, and I don't know if you saw the same thing. People started to take a bit more control of their time once they realized that, no, wait a minute, I am not giving 40 hours a week anymore. I am now giving 60, 70, 80 hours a week because I log in, I work, I go make breakfast, I come back, I dinner, I come back. I'm spending so much more time here, and even the brain didn't get a chance to switch off. So a lot more people are becoming more intentional about, I'm going to switch off, I'm going to close the laptop. For some places, it reduced on micromanagement to a certain degree, and that helped with some. With others, and this was also, a personal experience, when you've got new people who now come in, they don't know the culture of the company yet, and they're now sitting at home and they have to work from home. There is, that slight challenge of, I was speaking to my mentor recently, and we were speaking about culture in the organization, and we were saying that when you're working from the office, when you're done with a specific task, I come back and I say, Karima, I'm done with what I was doing. What do I need to do next? Is there anything else I can help you with? But when I'm at home, I log in, I do what I need to do. And if I'm done, I go and take a quick nap, before the next thing. So if my boss needs something else, that's not my problem. So there's two sides of things. It's either overworked or things are not being done because you, the boss, are not there to make sure and see that, the new people are doing things properly. So there's little nuances that we've had to now navigate around this new way of work. But I must say that there has been a lot of convenience with it as well. I'm looking now at the petrol price, and I'm thinking, if I had to be driving to the office every single day, I'd literally just be working to put fuel in my car,
That leads me to pick up three important messages from this conversation. Is, first of all, I think the changing of the mindset within enterprises made us go more digitally resilient. This is first. And the second, I think, is time management. Of course, at the beginning of COVID, we had a lot of technology fatigue. We didn't know how to manage our life working from home. But I think with the practice today, we better manage our use of this technology more efficiently. And I think the third message is organizational, the change in organizational culture. It started offline with some performing organizations who are focusing more on performance, on the service delivery, deliverables, more than having people come at the office at 8 and leave at 4. So if I'm able to do the work in 2 hours instead of 3 days, I don't need to have a micromanagement of what I do, but you manage my work according to the deliverables you are required for me. So I think this started changing in organizations. And the last point that I wanted to bring here, since you're working with young people, we had an experience working with young people, more specifically during the COVID-19, who were not either who lost their jobs or who were not able to find a job, or those who were small and medium enterprises, more specifically females, who got bankrupt because of coronavirus. What we have done is that instead of leaving them like thinking of wait and see until they find an opportunity or support, we worked with these young people and women in order to embrace the concept, turn what you love into what you sell. So actually,
Okay.
there are enormous opportunities online, but young people, more specifically, they don't know how to use these opportunities online. So what we have done is, with the help of different organizations, we have done capacity building for these young people and young women in order to find out these opportunities. So we work with them in order to discover their skills. And during the confinement period, a lot of people said, I know how to draw, I know how to do this. So they started discovering different hobbies that they have
Yeah.
not thought of before. So what we have told them is, you can sell. Actually, you can do what we call Shopify, your hobby, and you can earn money while you are sitting at home. You can teach your favorite lesson and you can get money while you are at home. So this actually was a step forward in order to mitigate the impact of losing a job, using the opportunities provided by technology and digitalization in this regard.
Yes, no, definitely. I don't know if you noticed within the lockdown period. So from the beginning of your COVID-19 spread in 2020, as things got worse, how many coaching businesses, how many online information type businesses were now starting to come up. And I think it's exactly what you're talking to say people needed to now become, work smart rather than hard and find a way to make it work. Most people, very many people, I myself am one of those who was operating a business that was an in-person business because we were working in schools, after school, teaching physical robotics. And after a few months, when we thought things would get better, we had to actually get back and say, okay, what are we going to do? Okay, we'll have to teach online then. So a lot of people are using that. Social media is another one where people put up their businesses or the goods that they sell, cakes that they bake, the hair that they braid, as a way of using it. And many organizations I'm finding now are actually using that and doing that capacity building that you're talking about to say, okay, so this is the technology we've got. Now let's make it practical in your world. And I think we need to start to teach people to think like that, to say, okay, what have you got and what can you do with it? Technology allows us to play around with those different options and say, what have you got? What can you do with it? Feed yourself, create a job for the next person, empower someone else. So I think it's amazing and it's fascinating.
Yeah, actually, I really think Tropics Business Summit, more specifically focusing on this technology subject to connect to inspiring female entrepreneurs like yourself, and to find out actually ways to collaborate together, more specifically in developing digital incubators, more specifically for young people and women to actually mitigate the impact of losing jobs, because this is a concern in Africa today, and find out solutions how to empower them to be more entrepreneurial and create their own solutions through innovation.
Most definitely, most definitely. There is something on the screen there. Can we expect a northern and southern African connection?
Why not? We're already started connecting actually, and the beauty is that when we meet in such conferences like this, the most important thing is not just the discussion, but actually the power of the network that we have. And regardless of the different environments, where we live in, and actually the also the legal enabling environment of the digital ecosystem, and the innovation and many other initiatives, we still can share similar concerns. Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
so actually, I think yes, there's always a room for collaborating with great initiatives.
No, definitely. And that's the power of technology. That's exactly what we're talking about. I'm not sure if without platforms such as this, you and I would have met, exchanged ideas, learned something from one another. And so it's definitely great. And we would encourage others to, take the opportunity and do the same, using the technology that we've got. So I do not see why not. I agree. Definitely something might come up.
Yeah, definitely. So, actually, personally interested in the work that you're doing in teaching kids on robotics, and I think this is something that we can learn from and turn it actually as a model, probably to implement in some of the countries in Northern Africa.
Yeah.
Taking into consideration, of course, the local context and the capacity. So I think this is something really powerful. And more specifically today, that there is a culture readiness to receive anything digital, whether at the level of government or at the level of civil society, and also at the private sector. So I think we have, I think, 1 minute left. Maybe probably if you could say the last word.
All right. I think my closing thought around this is, with the help of technology, especially us women, we have the ability to create. We are really good at creating. We are really good at making a plan when things are tough, and we've seen it even throughout the pandemic times. And we should definitely take the opportunity. One thing that we're doing, and I'm going to use it as an example to close off, so that I can show that we can, as long as you can think of it, you can try it out and make it happen. We are currently in the process of building an educational robot for the African child. Everything we've been using, we've been importing from Asia or somewhere else, whereas we've got the smarts, we've got the expertise, we've got the minerals right here in Africa. So why don't we do that? Within the next couple of months, our robot should be out and ready, and it would be great to see it running all over in Africa, African schools, so we ourselves right here at home, together in collaboration, can create. This space is there. We just need to be intentional about it. And thank you so much for this amazing chat.
Thank you. I just want to close out with one important thing is that these type of networking and connection makes us also boost our e-leadership and also find out ways to maximize impact and also collaborate, learning from both experiences and sharing best practices and lessons learned. And I think Africa is compared to other continents is it has a bigger percentage of female entrepreneurs, and I think we only need to reinforce these networks so that we can collaborate together. Thank you.
Thank you.